So welcome back to the STS database setup project. Once again, if you need to back up the video or pause it, that's fine, because we do try to move along a little fast so that these videos don't get too long. In this section, we're going to continue with the database setup. This is the portion where we have to enter all the information necessary in order to get the simulator running. So, as a quick review, let's look back at the items we need to put into the database. The first four there we did in the previous video: commodities, car codes, stations, and locations. This video will address shipments and cars, and the next video will talk about the jobs, in other words, the trains that are going to run. Just a quick review, here's the schematic of our branch line, and here are the shippers and the commodities that they both ship and receive. So the two on the left are shippers and receivers. The three on the right receive product, but they don't ship anything out. So what exactly defines a shipment? Well, the first is the ID code. This is a unique code that you assign to a shipment. Its primary use is to sort the shipments in alphabetical order when you look at the database. The description is, I use that to put in the route as to where the cars are going from and where they're going to. Consignment, that comes from a drop-down list from the data that you've entered previously into the commodity table. Same thing with the car code, that's also a drop-down list. Loading location, unloading location, those are all come from drop-down lists. The date of last shipment is normally 0, and we'll talk about that in a more advanced video further on down the line, but you can leave that just as at 0 for right now. The intervals, maximum, minimum, these are the number of operating sessions that will occur between shipments. So if it's set to minimum of 1 and maximum of 2, that means that the shipments will take place either every operating session or every other operating session. If you want them to take place every operating session, then you leave them both set to 1. If you want it to happen every third operating session, then you have minimum and maximum both set to 3. If you have minimum set to 1 and maximum set to 3, shipments will occur anywhere from 1 every operating session, meaning 1, or every other or every third operating session. Minimum and maximum amount govern how many car loads will be included in that shipment. We don't use pounds or tons or gallons here because that would get a little bit too complex. We just stick with car loads. And so each shipment will consist of a minimum number of car loads and a maximum. And again, the random number used by the STS software will determine how many car loads are involved in the shipment. If you always want 2 car loads, have the minimum of 2 and the maximum of 2. If you want anywhere between 3 and 5 car loads, minimum of 3, maximum of 5. Special instructions are used to put instructions on the waybills if you use them, such as where the refrigerator cars should be iced, or where the cattle cars should be pulled over and the animals fed water, or where the grain cars should be weighed. Because whatever's in that special instruction column does get printed out on the waybills if you choose to go that route. The final bit of information is the remarks field. That field is used to put in any comments you want to make about special cars. I use it to help determine what type of tank car or what kind of covered hopper to use. For example, covered hoppers could be potash fertilizer cars, or bentonite clay cars, or wheat cars, or food grade cars. Tank cars could be for compressed LP gas. So that's a handy field that you can use the remarks column for, because when you get into assigning cars to car orders, that can help make sure you get the right kind of car associated with the shipment. Now let's take a look here at an example. Here's the Northwoods aggregates, and let's look at some of the shipments. It's sending out gravel to Prairie Materials and out to Aggregate Industries, and it's receiving shipments from Caterpillar in Chicago. So if you notice, I've assigned a shipment ID each one of these, and I used EJ as the first part, and then CHI, and then AGG for the two aggregate shipments. That means it's coming from Emerald Junction to Chicago, and it's shipping aggregate. The machinery shipment from Chicago was CHI to EJ, and it's M&E for machinery and equipment. The consignments are gravel for the outbound shipments and quarry machinery and equipment for the inbound shipment. The car codes, one of the load or the shipment of gravel to Prairie Materials going in open top hoppers, and the shipment of gravel to Aggregate Industries in St. Paul's going with a gondola. Likewise, the shipment from Caterpillar to the quarry is coming in a gondola as well. The minimum shipment for the first one I have as every 5 operating systems, but a maximum of 7. So it means every 5th, 6th, or 7th operating session, that shipment will go out. The second one, to the St. Paul, is every between 2 and 4 operating sessions. So that means a shipment out there is going to either go out every other shipment, every other operating session, every 3rd operating session, or every 4th. As far as machinery coming in, it's a minimum of every 4th, a maximum of every 7th. The aggregate shipments are either going to be 2 or 3 carloads each, and the machinery coming in is just 1 carload. So finally, here's an example of all the shipments that I've entered into the system. You might want to pause the video and just take a better look at these things and check out the min-max intervals, the min-max carloads, the special instructions, and so on. After you get done with that, we're going to get into the car business. So now we're going to talk about entering the information that STS needs to know about your rolling stock. Of course, reporting marks are important. So is the car code. Once again, these asterisks indicate that will be selected off a drop-down list because you entered car codes earlier. Same with where the car is currently located. Its position on the track is, that's optional. We use that later on once we get operating. But right now, you can just leave that as 0. The status, normally everybody starts out as empty. Handled by the information that has 2 asterisks, that stuff is generated by the system. And you can go in there and modify the database if you wish, but you should probably wait until you're a little more familiar with how STS works to do that. Same thing with consignment, loading location, destination, and so on. Remarks, we match that up with the remarks on the shipments to find the correct car. Home location is where the car should go when it's empty, no longer needed. Finally, load count is used to help even out the usage of the cars so that the same one doesn't get assigned to the same shipment time after time after time. It tries to assign cars based on the amount of usage to the ones that haven't been used as much get selected before the other ones. And finally, RFID code. Again, we'll get that's not really necessary right now. We'll talk about that in one of the more advanced videos later on. So here finally is a list of a partial list of the cars that I've entered into the system. You'll see a lot of C&W cars here because that's what I happen to have on hand when I enter them into the database. You should probably, if you pause the video about now, just spend some time checking out the information that's out there. And once we get done with that, we'll continue on with our last step for this edition. So basically what you've done now is you've entered all the information that STS needs for you to start running, unless you want to use the computer-generated switch list. And that'll be covered in one of the next videos. We have to set up the jobs and trains and stuff first. But right now, you've set up the necessary information, and you can run the before operations tasks, and then you can print way bills and handwrite your switch lists, and then you're ready to go. The next video will cover setting up the actual jobs, the trains, and showing you how STS can computer generate the switch list for you at that point.